Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make your own scrap journal. It's going to be a junk journal, scrap journal, whatever you want to call it, that measures 7 by 5 inches. It's really easy to make. So what you're going to need is 3 pieces for the reinforcement of your cover, and I just took the front and back piece of the scrapbook paper pad and cut those and glued 2 pieces to each other to make it, you know, a thick piece of backing. You could also use a cardboard or chipboard if you wanted to make it really sturdy, but I just wanted to make use of the pad excuse me, the pad, and not just throw away those pieces when they can be used for a project like this. So you're going to need, like I said, 3 pieces total, but I glued 2 together to make it sturdier. So if you're going to do the method I'm using, you'll want to cut out 6 pieces total. So the centerpiece for your spine measures 1.5 inches, and then it's going to be 7 inches in length because that's the size of the journal. And then your other 2 pieces, which is the front and back cover, are going to measure 5.25 inches in the width, and then of course the 7 inches on the length. So that's on both of these, and I'll put all the measurements down in the description box, so you'll have that there as well. And then you'll also need I use 2 pieces of scrapbook paper that are double-sided, and they measure 12 by 12, but the total measurement from here across to here, it needs to be 18 3/4 inches once you join the 2 pieces together, and then of course it's 12 inches this way. When I joined the 2 pieces, this piece is like basically 8 by 12, and then this other piece is the 12 by 12. So when I joined the 2 together, I joined it so that there was some strength there, so they don't come apart easily. So the 2 pieces where they overlap each other, it's about 3.25 inches. So you want to keep that in mind, that you want to have a good overlapping, because the other thing too is where this piece is that joins the 2 together on the inside and the outside of your cover. You want to make sure that those join seams are not going to be where the album's going to fold, because then eventually it's just going to split apart. So you want to make sure that wherever your join seams are, that they're behind one of the reinforcement pieces that you're putting in for your cover. So on the inside here, the join seam is right there, so it's not anywhere where the album's going to be folded. And then the same thing on the other side, the join seam is here, but this is the spine of the book. So what I'm going to do to cover that up so you don't see the join seam, I'm going to put a matting piece on top of the spine. So there's that. So once you get all this glued down onto your sheet of papers, then you're going to want to do a score line, because the measurement from where your reinforcement pieces are for the cover and the spine, it's 2.5 inches from the edge in, and it's the same all the way around the entire border. So what you want to do then is, with your scoreboard, you want to score 2.5 inches in from the edge on every corner. So you just score down 2.5 inches, and then you turn it and you score again 2.5 inches. Now because the paper's so long, you do have to turn it this way to finish scoring on this side, unless you have a scoreboard that's larger than a 12 by 12. So what I did was I just went from the 12-inch mark, and then I went 9 and 3/4 to get the score mark finished up. So hopefully that makes sense. Then you're going to be burnishing this. So wherever your score marks were, you want to go ahead and burnish the cover up once you put your score marks on. So you just get your bone folder and you want to burnish all of these. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so once you have all your score marks in there and you've burnished all the edges, then you're going to want to trim the corners. I've already trimmed one, so this is how it's going to look once it's trimmed. So the corners, you know, meet up. This one probably could use with a little bit more trimming over here, because you want to not have any bulk there. So the way you do that is when you scored the 2.25 around the entire edges, you end up with this little square right here. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but there's a square in each corner of your paper. So you want to cut that out. So you want to go ahead and cut out all your squares right on the score line. And then what you're going to do is you're going to fold that in and see how it kind of like is bulky if you leave it like that. Now you can leave it like that if you want to, but I prefer to get rid of that excess. So what you're going to do is fold the paper in and meet up your edge with the score line here. And then you do the same thing on this side. You take this piece of paper and you fold it in till it meets, the edge meets the score line. And then what you do is you now have a triangle there. So you take your scissors and you cut off that triangle. And then save these because you can use them in your scrap journal, your junk journal, for embellishments and things. So then you take this other triangle and you cut that off too. Okay, and then it comes together and it meets nicely and you don't have all that bulk there. So then you do the same thing on the other side where the square is. You're going to cut that off. Sorry, it's hard to do this on the camera. Hopefully I'm staying in the frame for you. So you take that off and then you do the same thing. You fold this in till the edge meets the score line here. And on this side as well. And I apologize for my hands. I've got glue all over me. It's all over my scoreboard and everything. I shared with you guys before the Smart Craft Glue. I don't personally care for it. I don't think I'll be buying it again. I mean, maybe some people like it, but it's just, it makes a mess everywhere. So I don't really like it. So then you're going to cut those out. That's a triangle. And then you cut out this one. And then when you fold it in, it meets nicely. And then we've got one more to do. So it's right over here. So same thing, you take the square. And you cut that out. And then you fold this over till it meets the score line. So you have a triangle. You do the same thing on this side till it meets the score line. You have a triangle. You cut those out. And cut this one out. So all four corners now have been cut out. So when you flip this over, it all meets up nicely like that. So then what you want to do is glue all these down. So you can use either double-sided tape, or you can use craft glue. It's up to you, whatever you want to use. So I'm going to go ahead and glue all those down, and I'll probably just fast forward this, and then we'll continue with the project. Okay, so now you should have all your pieces folded over and glued down. I'm going to put a score line right through here, just between the back and the spine, so that I can, so that when I fold it, the paper doesn't tear. And you want to do the same thing on this side. So then when you fold it, it will look like this. Seam where you had joined the two papers, but we're gonna put a matted piece on this to cover up that. So you probably want to, depending on what type of adhesive you use, you're probably going to want to let this dry for a little while. And then in the meantime, while that's drying, you can go ahead and cut out the cover pieces for inside. So for the inside piece to cover in here, you're going to want a piece that measures 7.5, because that's going to take care of this part here. And then you're going to want a piece that's measures this way, 12 inches across. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out, and I'll be right back. I'm going to place this here. So there's about 3/4 to a 1/2 inch border on either side, and I'm going to place this down. And then keep in mind when you're putting in this that you have the direction in the correct way compared to the direction on the outside of your cover. Obviously, depending on what type of paper you use, it may not be directional, but if it is, then you definitely want to make sure that this paper is facing the way you want it to, based on how you're matting the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down, and then I'll be back in just a moment. I'm also cut out 2 strips that are 1 inch wide, and they're 7 3/4 in length, because we have these pieces right here at the edge where you can see where it was joined, and this one didn't meet up. I cut a little bit too much off. So I'm putting these little strips in here to cover that up. So that's optional if you want to do that on yours. But mine definitely needs it. So I'm just tucking it in under the top piece. So it's basically just to cover up, like I said, where these seams are. You could do little square corner pieces too if you wanted to, whatever works for you. So I'm going to glue all this down, and then I'll be right back. So once you have all that glued down, you're going to want to let all this dry, and then once it's dry, then you can just gently fold up the front and the back of the cover. Now mine's not dry yet, but I just wanted to show you. And then it's going to look like this. And then we need to do some matting on the spine. So you'll want to get a piece of paper that measures 1 1/2, and then it should be 7 3/4. You have your spine matting on there. If you wanted to, you could actually stitch around it to make it look prettier, but on this particular one I just kept it simple. I might add like some lace trim or something around at some point. So that's what it's going to look like, and then this is the inside. So then you want to start making your signature. So you want to cut your papers that are going to go into your album. So I did start cutting and scoring some of the papers. So a full-size sheet is going to look like this. So you're going to have the paper that you want to cut is going to measure 10 by 7, and then on the 10-inch side you're going to score them at 5 inches. So you want to do that and cut out as many papers as you want to fit into your journal. So as you're cutting them, you can kind of gauge how many will actually fit, and you want to leave a little bit of room because you are going to be embellishing it, so you don't want to make it too chunky. And then the little extra pieces that you cut off, you can start cutting those out. Like if you want to, like this one I plan on putting here to make like a little pocket. And then of course all the little tiny scraps that you have from cutting things, you want to hold on to those, because when you get ready to embellish your junk journal, you can use all these pieces. So right now we go ahead and get all your pages ready, and then we'll be back later to put them all together. Once you have all of your pages or papers cut for your signature, you're going to want to place them in the order that you want to put them. It doesn't really matter, it's whatever makes you happy, but you want to make sure that they're all 7 inches in length and 5 inches across this way. When you cut the paper, if you remember, the piece that we cut was 10 inches across, and you scored it at the 5-inch mark. Some shorter pieces that are 10 inches across that I scored at the 5-inch mark, but they're only, instead of 7 inches in length, they're only 5, just to give a little bit of interest to the journal. So when then you flip through, there's some little shorter pieces here and there. So that's up to you if you want to make them all the same length, or if you want to add some that are different. Now the shorter pieces, what I did was I staggered the placement of them to help even out the distribution of the paper. So like this one's placed up here, the next one that's shorter, it's down towards the bottom, so it kind of just helps equal everything out. So once you do that, then you're going to want to glue all of this together. So I'm going to be using Modge Podge glue. Now normally I would use either bookbinding tape, or Lineco makes a PVA glue, and I think there's some other brands that do as well that you can use that are acid free. And so it's going to depend on what you plan on using your journal for. Like I'm not going to be putting any pictures in here, so I'm not too worried about it being acid free and things like that. I'm doing this more just for enjoyment. So it's up to you what type of adhesive you want to use. But you can use Modge Podge, and I decided, since some people, this might be their first junk journal or scrap journal they're making, that I wanted to try to keep this tutorial simple. So what you want to do also is have an old junky paintbrush that if it gets ruined, you don't care and you can throw it away. You can buy these at the Dollar Tree, Walmart, and craft store. They're just cheapo ones, and I've used it tons of times for Modge Podge. I keep it specifically for that. I do wash it out, but it doesn't get completely out, and it's stained from things and stuff, but it does its job. So but if I have to throw it away, I'm not going to be upset because it's not an expensive brush. So then you want to cut a piece of a strip of paper that measures 2 inches across, and it's going to be 7 inches in length, and this is going to be the piece that we're going to put over our signatures to help hold them all together. So what you want to do first, I'm going to move the journal out of the way so I don't pour glue all over it. What you want to do first is make sure all your pages are going the direction you want them to be. If they're directional papers, like I have crows in here, I want them facing the right way, and like flowers and things like that. But if for some reason you end up with a page, because I've done it before too, where it's going the wrong way, it's not the end of the world. Just cover it up with an embellishment and go on with your day, and nobody will know. So it's not about perfection, it's about having fun and enjoying yourself. I haven't used this in a while, so hopefully it's still good. The lid's kind of stuck to it. There we go. So what you want to do is just whatever adhesive you're going to use, Modge, Podge, or whatever else you decide to use, you just want to get some on your brush and be generous with it, because you want to make sure that this is going to stick together. So you're going to pile this on here. Make sure it gets down in all the pages good, because it will dry clear, so you don't need to worry if it goes into the page a little bit. And then you're going to get your piece, and I'm going to actually put some glue on this as well, because I just want to make sure that everything sticks down really good. So then you go ahead and take this and you place it on top of your signatures and kind of squeeze them together a little bit, and then you wrap this around the edge like that. So you have it wrapped around both sides, and you can just wipe off some of the glue. And like I said, it dries clear, so don't worry about it too much, and you can always cover, you know, this up with an embellishment or lace or something, and nobody will see the, you know, the glue. So once you have that in place, then you're going to want to let it dry overnight. So I'm going to put some, first I got to go wash my hands because they're a mess. I'm going to put some clamps on here. So let me go clean up my mess, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so you clean up all the excess glue. Like I said, it's going to dry clear, so it's going to be alright. You can always cover it with something. And then you want to use some craft clamps. And you want to clamp at the bottom and the top, and then you put those in place, because you want to make sure everything stays together so it can dry overnight. You can also put a book or something heavy on top of this to hold it down. And then the next day you can take the clamps off. Now for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to go ahead and take the clamps off now, just so I can show you the rest of the process. And then of course you want to make sure it's completely dry before you try to open up any pages. So go ahead, and then you're going to get another piece of paper that, this is the next day after it's dried overnight. Another piece of paper, and this one measures 12 inches across, and it measures 5 inches in the length. So what you're going to do is you're just going to train it a little bit. You don't score it or anything. You can trim the corners like I did with the corner trimmer, or you can leave them, you know, just regular pages like this. It's up to you. You just want to train it a little bit to fold. And then what you're going to do when this is dried overnight, you're going to take this and you're going to put it around your album like that. It's going to stick over the edge just a little bit, but that's okay, because it will all make sense when we put it together. So then what you're going to do is, this is going to be what you're going to use to adhere your album to your cover. So what you want to do is take this piece, and where the spine is, you're going to put glue over here. So you can use Modge Podge, or you can use some other type of craft glue. It's whatever you want to use. I'm just going to use the Modge Podge since I already have it out. And you're going to put glue over here. And then you're going to take the piece that you had, and where the fold is, you're going to put that around the album. Attach this to your spine. So you're going to put glue over here. And then you're going to take your cover, and you're going to place this right in the center So you have about a 1/2 inch on either side where the two front and back cover meets. So you're going to place this down here and hold it in place. You could use hot glue too if you wanted to. You could use double-sided tape. It's up to you. And then you're going to, we're not going to glue them completely, but we're going to glue probably about to here. So I'm going to go ahead and put glue here. And we're going to push that down on there. So you have just a little bit of a flap. And then we're going to turn this around and do the other side. So then you're going to put glue here about halfway up. And put that down. So it's like that. And of course, normally you'd be able to open these pages now, but since you know, I haven't let this dry overnight yet, I'm not going to do that. So then you would fold up your album, make sure everything closes properly, and then it's going to look like this. And it's all finished. So now you can, once it's all in place, I would recommend letting this dry again overnight a second time to make sure that this adheres to the spine properly. Now some people do take these dust covers that we place down and they stitch it to the pages and then glue it down. So that's another way to do it. But like I said, you know, this is maybe for someone who's making their very first album. So try to keep this really simple. So it's all finished. And you can use it to practice, you know, embellishments. You could, you know, use up scrap paper that you don't want to throw away, but you kind of are done making things with it. You can add that into your junk journal. What I'll do is, once I have this completely dry and I've made some pages, because I have all this leftover papers from what we cut out, and I have some cut aparts and things in there, we can go ahead and I'll do another video and give you some ideas for making tags or embellishments or little pieces you can add into your junk journal or your scrap journal. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them down in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. Happy crafting. Bye.